This is an assault on the supercar aristocracy. It's a carbon fibre V8 snarl in the direction of Italy. This clinical feat of engineering is, hopefully, one not the likes of Ferrari and Lamborghini off people's must-own lists. This is the McLaren 12C, born MP4 12C, and its job is to take over the world. This is the second true McLaren road car. Its first, the F1, was inspired by a conversation in Milan airport in the late 80s, following the Italian Grand Prix, when a bunch of the company's top brass were discussing the future of the company. Its BMW developed V12 helped push it into the record books in the early 90s, but it wasn't a supercar, it was a hypercar. And in 1994 it would set you back £630,000, and to develop something quite that ambitious today would cost, well, a lot more than that. I say it's the second McLaren road car, but it does have a stepbrother, the Mercedes McLaren SLR. Sold from 2003 to 2010, the SLR sounded like nothing else. It could top 200 miles an hour, and it cost a little bit over £300,000. It was produced at the McLaren Technology Centre in Woking, and rumour has it, McLaren wasn't happy with it. The story goes that Mercedes wanted a GT, something you could almost use pretty much every day, but McLaren wanted more of a sports car, something agile, light, fast, something that could take on the big boys and win. Of course, Mercedes got its way, and the SLR was something of a success, but it left McLaren wanting more. So McLaren Automotive was set up and got to work. In 2008, a chap called Frank Stephenson was brought on board to pen a new car for the brand. His previous designs may be familiar to you. 2001's new Mini, the Ferrari F430, the Maserati MC12, BMW's X5, Maserati's Quattroporte, the double spoiler on the Ford Escort RS Cosworth, Fiat's Punto. Needless to say, he was the right man for the job. In 2009, details of the McLaren MP4 12C were unleashed on the world. Its 591 brake horsepower, 3.8 litre twin-turbo V8 and its carbon fibre construction were of particular interest. But after then, a wait. We had to wait until 2011 until the final product leapt into showrooms. It was liked, but some customers had a few concerns, namely noise and some door opening issues. McLaren heard what its punters wanted and acted upon it. So, to sort the sound issues, they added an intake sound generator, or ISG. So, if you want a relaxed, comfortable car, set it to 0 and you'll be fine. Or, if you want all the noise and drama in the world, whack it up to full and have all the fun you want. At the same time, they added a little bit more power. The output then sat at 616 brake horsepower. All the while, though, they managed to keep the emissions the same as the lower-powered older model. Now, that added 2 miles an hour to the top speed, taking the magic number up to 207 miles an hour. Now, rather than just making all these upgrades standard on cars from then on, what they did was offered all the upgrades to existing customers free of charge. Now, that is smart. Boasting big power from a big engine is one thing, but there's more to it than that. You know, you hear about F1 tech trickling down into road cars. Well, the 12C has some of that. It's got quite a cool invention called brake steer, originally used by McLaren in F1. What it does is, to prevent understeer when you're turning in, it brakes the inside rear wheel a little bit to keep you straight and true on the line you want to go in. It's also worth noting that shortly after it was introduced to F1, it was banned for being a bit too good. Carbon fibre is another F1 technology that's made its way over, something McLaren pioneered too. The carbon fibre cell that houses you weighs just 80 kilos, yet is as strong as anything, and using experience gained from the F1 and the SLR, it takes just 4 hours to make, rather than the 3,000 it took for the F1. While I'm nice and safe here in my carbon fibre cell, I'm also quite far into the middle of the car, and that's for 2 very good reasons. 1, I get a better view of the road, which is good, and 2, it keeps the weight distribution of the car nice and centralised for better handling. McLaren is especially proud, though, of its ride quality. It's like riding in a saloon. That's all down to a hydraulic anti-roll bar system and upper and lower wishbones. Essentially, this thing is the S-Class of supercars, yet it has the power to humble pretty much anything. And that's an interesting combo. McLaren's gearbox is quite smart. It's called the Seamless Shift Gearbox, or SSG for short. It's a dual clutch jobby and it's got a rather natty feature called precog. Now what that means is that when you've half pulled the pedal, the next clutch is primed and ready to go. So when you fully pull it, it engages and you shift very, very smoothly indeed. McLaren, honestly, it's kind of overwhelming to drive. You realise there's so much has gone into this, so much engineering, so much passion, so much hard work to make a scalpel sharp machine. The stopping power is, well, it's breathtaking, if I'm honest. I know people are saying, oh well, the MP4 12C, it lacked a little bit of soul. And I think the only reason it lacks soul is because it doesn't have the heritage of its rivals. You haven't been lusting after McLaren since you were about yay big. It's one of those things that you're privileged to get a go in. And of course, a privilege to hear noise. The 12C is one hell of an achievement. It's the first McLaren road car that mere mortals can just about approach. A feat of engineering that very few will ever be able to exploit to its fullest, but it's also more than that. This is McLaren's fresh start. This is the car that's going to get into kids' what I want to drive when I grow up lists and onto their bedroom walls. McLaren's engineering prowess means we know that the car is going to be top notch, and while it doesn't have the heritage of, say, some Italian rivals, what it does have is pretty epic. And if this is the start, can't wait to see what happens next.